Okay, James. Well, my first question is this. I see that you got, if I'm correct, you got your PhD from Columbia University for political science.
Yes.
I thought that was really interesting because I actually started, when I was younger, I actually did a lot of political work as well. I did a lot of lobby work and I was an activist.
Oh,
So I kind
wow.
of wanted to ask you about that. I kind of wanted to ask you
Hmm.
about like if that kind of led you to more of a spiritual path because it helped you to like see the world for what it was. It like if your original intention was basically to save the world and then you just went about it a different way.
No. My original intention was not to save the world, it was to save myself.
Oh,
Well, because that was during the Vietnam War,
okay.
and I was really draft eligible. And they
Oh.
drafted people
Oh.
back then, and I do not want. First of all, I don't think I really believe in this war, like a lot of wars, so I didn't like it, and I did not want to go die and for some cause I didn't believe in some rice paddy somewhere in Vietnam. I just thought it was insane. So I graduated from college, and the best way to stay out of the draft and not die in the war like some of my friends was to keep going to school. And I was a good student. So I got money to go to Columbia in the School of International Affairs. And I said, hey, I'm going there. And so that was the original motivation. Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting. So you created your creations are the Voyager Tarot. You have the Sustain Yourself cards. I think it's interesting that you call the Voyager Tarot the GPS of the soul. I think that's a really cool way of looking at it. How do you feel like you created it? Did you create it for yourself at first, or was it something you right off the bat were creating for other people?
Well, that would be a both and. Yeah, I've got to love it. I got to believe in it. It's got to work for me. And it took Raven. It took 4 years to make Voyager. So during that period of
Wow.
time, like it took 1 year just to do the 22 major archetypes. They're very complex cards with very rich symbolism from all over the world. It's a very revolutionary tarot, but I had to practice. I had to try it out, and so I
Yeah.
made little mock-ups of the 22 cards originally, and would play with them and practice them and use them with people to see if they worked. you know, and
Yeah.
so that was the deal. And then, lo and behold, 3 years later, I wrote the book, and we had a deck, and we were off and running because I knew that it would work. I knew that, and I knew it was revolutionary. And that was back in the day where you didn't have thousands and thousands of tarot decks that are mainly beautiful art decks. There's so much beautiful tarot art out there, but they're not real spiritual path cards. They're not practices to develop and become the person you're meant to be, the whole person, the highest expression of yourself you're meant to be. But I viewed tarot as a practice and a path and a discipline for that. So it took a long time to make, and I wanted to make sure that it would work. And I started making Voyager in '81, and they came
Okay.
out in '85. So it's a lot of years in between Columbia University Graduate School and going to India and all of that kind of stuff and making the cards.
Wow.
But it was funny, after 4 years in '85, they were made. I bought a tie and a suit and all that, and went to New York City where the publishers were then, and none of them liked it. I don't know why they didn't like it. Maybe it was collage art and they thought I was stealing somebody else's stuff. Maybe, I don't know. Um, but that was a setback for sure. 4 years of working on a project that I think is fantastic, and these guys don't like it.
Yeah.
But I didn't believe it. A setback is one step back to go two steps ahead.
Yep.
I am such a believer. The best things that have happened in my life have been through setbacks, but setback is one step to success. If you know that, believe that, retreat, step back to say, aha, here's the open door of opportunity, and go two steps ahead. And that's what I did. And I eventually Somebody came forth with some money and gave me money to print the cards. So basically, Voyager was in my hands for the first 16 years of its life, which is the best thing that could have happened. And one of the cards in Voyager is called Setback. And every
Yeah.
time that card comes up, I say, yay, you're on the path. Come on, let's go.
You like a
Uh,
challenge.
uh, well, challenges, yes, because they're opportunities.
Yeah.
Every challenge, every obstacle is every adversity is opportunity. And that's Voyager philosophy and lifestyle is there's 12 negative cards, so-called, in Voyager, like every classic tarot deck. I pretty much stayed to structure. I changed names and did a lot of other changes, but basically the structure is the same. So 12 of these challenge cards, adversaries, but every time they come up, ooh, acknowledge them. Yes, that's true. And what's the opportunity? What's the lesson? What's the growth? What's
Yeah.
the success that can come out of that? So Voyager is an exceedingly positive growth path and practice.
Yeah, it definitely covers a lot. So what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite card?
No,
You don't?
it
Or a couple
changes.
maybe?
It changes all the time. But I just say this. I mean, I love all the cards because, hey,
Yeah.
why not? But if I had to have only one card out of any tarot deck, whatever, and it's not so much, it's not really about the art at all. It's about the concept.
Yeah.
Other than the Fool, or in Voyager, the Fool Child, which is a zero card, which
Hmm.
is the life force, basically. Other than that, it would be the Lovers,
Okay.
because the Lovers is about the ability to communicate, commune, connect, and become whole, the whole person that we're meant to be, and to engage the entire universe and be the universe that we are and all the people that we meet and everything. And that to me is now, I am the universe, Y-O-U-N-I, because I'm able to connect and embrace all of the universe, all of you, you Raven, all the world, and see that as part of me, to become all of me. And that's what the Voyager philosophy and psychology is all about.
Then does that mean that you've done a lot of shamanic work to find those, basically to search out those questions and then kind of added those teachings to your, basically to what you produce, what you create?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Voyager is a very eclectic. It's a mixed media in the sense of where it's coming from, its heritage. For
Yes.
example, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's got the traditional esoteric thing, it's got the Christian deal, but I'm very much into psychology, so it's got that, and shamanism for sure.
Yes, I can definitely
Very,
see that.
very, very shamanic. And when I was doing a lot of corporate work with Voyager, which is primarily down in Australia for a number of years, I had a great agent.
Wow.
Agents make all the difference, you know. Um, I was called the corporate shaman, the
Oh,
corporate
wow.
shaman, because I can wear a tie, I can talk the talk. I have a PhD. I mean, I can be intellectual and blah blah blah, but that's not really, that's only part of me.
Yeah.
But to bring in all the symbolism and all the elements and nature and all the mythology and the old stories and all of that, like that is, it makes a tarot can be exceedingly rich.
Yes.
The reason why I made Voyager was I've been doing professional readings with the classic tarot deck for years, but at some point I said enough is enough. This is only almost the 21st century. It's 1980,
Yeah.
and I said it's time to create a life map that really addresses the 21st century. And I don't want any swords and blood and kings and queens off of their heads, But then the question was, what are we going to replace it with? That's the fun part about making a deck. The conceptual end is so cool.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think collage is an extraordinary medium. I
Yes.
mean, number one, it's an art medium that anybody can do.
Yes, that's true.
My favorite class is when people they come together for a weekend and we make their own version of the major arcana or the
Yeah.
first 10 cards or whatever. But it's all collage art. And anybody can make incredible stuff. But I had a wonderful collage artist to work with in
Yeah, I
making
was going to
Voyager.
ask about that actually. That was one of my next questions. And so, who were your collaborators and how did they contribute?
Well, I only had one collaborator, and that was my friend Ken Knutson. And I was living out in Marin County at the time, which is just above San Francisco,
Yeah.
at a town at the end of the world, basically. And Ken happened to be my neighbor, and he's a wonderful oil painter, plein air, big California, big, airy landscape stuff. But he wanted to do a collage project. And one day, under the influence of caffeine, coffee, strong stuff, I said, Ken, out of nowhere, I said, Ken, let's make The Magician.
Oh, cool.
And he said, who?
What a cool card to
Yeah,
start with.
I know. And why and what and rah, rah, rah. And I said, Ken, let's just see if this is going to work. You want to do collage? I think this would be a great collage medium. So I spent a few days collecting all the imagery from every magazine I could get my hands on. I mean, this is old world art. This is not digital stuff.
Yeah.
This is ancient art. And I just image that I thought would go with the magician archetype, because I know the tarot. I know what it's about.
Yeah.
And so I would go through and find my imagery. For example, in classical tarot, let's say the magician is associated with the god Mercury.
Yes.
Mercury. Well, I went and found the Mercury planet. I mean, the picture of Mercury that was taken by the Voyager spacecraft.
Yeah.
I thought, well, hell, we got to put that in there, don't we? And so I would take all my images I'd collect from my garage over to Ken's garage, and we turn on some rock and roll. And I'd lay it all out and say, this is kind of the concept of magician. Go to it, have fun. And I'd be there with him. And we did this together for years, doing this. But he was the fool child, had zero intellectual concepts or familiarity with the tarot. He didn't know it. Perfect. Meant he had no hangups.
Yeah, that's
he
really
had no
good.
prejudices. And I just sort of fed him the imagery. And I was there to be a cheerleader. Like, oh, I like that, Ken. That's cool. And I don't know about that. I don't know. But that's how we were. It was just the two of us for years hanging out together. And the good news is we got along. And the good news, he was the fool. And I picked another card from another deck, and I was the emperor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I knew the structure, the organization. I knew what I wanted, sort of. I knew how to kind of do the business end of it. He was just this wide open, intuitive. You get the emperor and the fool child in Voyager together, and you have a magic genius team.
That kind of makes me think of John Dee and is it Arthur Kelly? They were a pretty good team, the ones that did the Enochian alphabet and stuff. It kind of makes me think of that, like one person who's more, learned, intellectual, and another person who's kind of the fool who goes in the journey to try to figure out.
Well, I think that's pretty traditional in a lot of decks. I mean, a lot of those old classic decks were done by some guy with a guy's name.
Yeah.
But who did the art? It was a woman.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of decks that are partnerships. For sure. Did you do yours all alone?
Yeah, I did. I guess you could say it was a partnership in a sense that I was inspired by the energies I worked with. Like if I started working with a particular energy, like say Freya or something, then I would start working with her card and she would teach me things in the shamanic worlds and I would learn and make the cards. So I feel like they're divinely inspired. But as far as like doing them by myself, I did the art by myself.
Well, I like what you said though about, you did it by yourself, but you also had some guidance and inspiration from the divine.
Yeah.
And people would always ask me, well, James, are you channeling this? And I'd say, hell yeah, I am. And so I didn't sit down and meditate on this stuff. We just started doing it. We were very spontaneous. And we made mistakes and we changed it. But I gave myself a channel. Yeah. I called myself Channel 88. Mm-hmm. I'm 88. And so, it's funny. When I go to Japan now, I work a lot in Japan. They love Voyager. They know me as 88. And they've given me a hat that says 88 on the top and all that. And then, it's very cool. And I
So
could call in 88 and it seems to work, you know?
so did you have any, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but did you, in fact, you don't have to answer any of the questions that may make you uncomfortable, but did you have any psychedelic experiences that helped you with that channeling? Or did you start with meditation? Like when you were younger, did you actually like have any kind of shamanic psychedelic experiences using different substances that might have helped to open up your mind to those things?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Whole gamut. I mean, the reason Voyager came out, frankly, was two things: psychedelics and meditation.
Yeah.
And I got heavily into meditation for a year when I was in India.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's all I did. I followed my meditation teacher all over India for a year. I cured myself of hepatitis by doing the Buddha gold light meditations in a Tibetan Buddhist monastery. I mean, heavy meditation.
Yes.
And then eventually I come back to the US. This is in the mid 70s. You're 4 years old, Raven. And then
Yeah,
of
but I
course,
wasn't 4 years old in my mind. I was
yeah. And of course, psychedelics have been around by, a long time by then.
yeah.
So it was a mix of meditation and magic of the different substances, and absolutely, it all worked together grandly. No, weed, hashish, back in '68 in New York City, changed my life.
Yes.
It's a straight pot. I mean, I was very left brain. I was a PhD, smart, but very analytical, left brain. The minute I had that first toke, I was right brain. I was an artist. I went to photography school. I did stuff I never, ever would have probably, I don't know, opened or accessed that part of my brain without some enhancement.
Yeah.
So in terms of tool, a stepping stone, absolutely. Of course, a lot of people, get addictive with it all, and that's a shame, and that's unfortunate. It's terrible, but that wasn't my case because I didn't start doing that until I was in my mid 20s. Even I was not like 12 years old,
Yeah.
without a brain formed at all.
I think that's good. That's the way I was too. I didn't do any psychedelics until I was in actually late 30s, early 40s. I mean, I did a
Wow,
little bit when I was younger, but I think it's
wow.
better to do stuff like that
Oh,
when you're older because you develop a
absolutely.
personality
Yes,
and you can handle it. You can handle the
yes.
death of the ego better in that situation than when
Oh,
you're
oh
younger.
my God. Oh, yes. And people's brains are really not formed
Yes.
until early
Yes.
20s. We did. I mean, like when we made the moon card, I deliberately set it up so we finished on a full moon night.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that. I mean, I really paid attention to
That's
that kind
amazing.
of thing. But I wouldn't say cards were there were some cards. Well, okay, here's one. I mean, there's some incredible stories about some of the cards. I mean, really rich stories, which I could probably spend forever talking about. But the death card. Now, the
Yes.
death card was interesting because the first version of our death, and the originals are about, I don't know, about 11, 14, you know, pretty large
Yeah.
collage, a cut and paste imagery all up there. And one day I stepped back from our death card, which I thought was very cool. And I said, oh my God, we missed it. We missed it. This death card was so cool. It was so full of life. It was so rich. It was like, oh yeah, and the death card is letting go. It's releasing. It's dropping. Come on, man.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? So literally had to go through a death of this
Yes.
wonderful image and pull off, shed, cut away some of the beautiful art that we'd pull up there. That wasn't easy to do that. But at the end of the day or the end of the night, we had, oh, this feels right. It felt right.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'll
awesome.
never, that's a shamanic experience. And I'll never, ever forget that. Beautiful.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you so you have I think, like, I see a lot of your own art and, like, especially your photography. You're an amazing photographer because the way you catch things, just the emotion and the abstractness of it all. I always wondered if you'd ever take your photographs and turn that into a deck.
Well, oh man, are you on it? You are so on it, Raven. I got
Yep.
you're not aware of this because it's only been in operation for 24 hours. This new deck
Are you
of mine.
serious?
Yeah, I'm
That's
serious.
crazy.
I'm totally serious. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, yesterday, and I can't remember where I was or what I was doing. I can remember in a moment, but that's irrelevant. But the point is, I had this flash because you know my photography, and I do a lot of pictures. So
Yeah.
on my iPhone, my little phone, I have 110,000 photos.
Wow.
110,000. So all of a sudden, I had this aha, like I can do the ultimate Voyager deck, the Ultra Voyager. And I have some, and I've already tried it a few times, just a few. I will do it with you. Uh, I've had I had a person ask me a question. It's going to be a one card reading,
Hmm.
and I get out my iPhone and close my eyes, and I just start spinning my iPhone library, spin, spin, spin with my finger until, boom! I just stop and sit and go to a finger on the screen, and that is one of my photos, and that's the card.
That's crazy. I do
It's
that with my cards on my phone sometimes. If I'm out and
yes,
about and somebody wants a reading
yes,
and they just want one card, I
yes,
spin my phone because I have all my cards on the phone. I have a ton of
exactly,
cards, and
exactly.
that's so cool. We are
And
definitely tapping into the collective conscious here. You
yeah,
and I.
and of course, with 110,000
Yeah,
photos,
that's
which
amazing.
spans several years, it includes a lot of my decks, more than just Voyager. So, I mean, it's kind of the ultra Voyager deck, and I'm just having a blast with this thing.
Yeah, and it's just
It's
we have to take
trippy.
advantage of technology.
Oh my
Um,
God, it is it. But hey, in today's world, a lot more than watching movies or Netflix
mhm,
or reading books. It's gaming.
yeah,
And turning. And do you have an app for your deck?
I'm working on one.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a good idea. I'm not.
I'm working. Somebody brought it to my attention and said they'd help me work on it, and I just have so much. I'm sure as you do too, and I just have to
Oh,
pick and choose
oh,
what I'm going to do.
oh, absolutely. Just pick one and do it.
Yeah, and then that leads to something else usually.
Yeah, but I'm loving this idea, the ultimate deck for me, because it spans maybe 10 years, and it's probably 200,000 when I actually fill the whole thing up.